Hello there and welcome back to the last days. Now when we left off, we were attempting to stem the tide in the overwhelming forces of Mordor and Isengard, and for the most part we've actually been quite successful, but of course there are always those times where you have to shoot someone in the knee, or at least try to. Yeah, sometimes you're going to be more successful than others in doing that. Anyway, the point is that I am currently in a battle against Dunish men, and I am attempting to help someone from Rohan, because they are of course going to be exceedingly at a disadvantage because of their equipment, because they are primarily mounted units, and the Dunish men, well, as you can no doubt see from the text log, they have a huge amount of different pikeman-based units with spears and shields and all kinds of very difficult things for Rohan units to be able to kill. So what we're going to be doing is literally just trying to assist them in this episode. We're just going to try and assist them. I have been following around King Theoden as much as I can, trying to assist him in whatever battle he needs help in. And look at this, we have so many people running against the wall there, which is not very good. So I'm a bit worried about that, to be honest. I really am. But I guess what we're going to do is we're just going to charge in now, because personally I think we have more units than they do. Yeah, we have an overwhelming amount of units in comparison to the enemy, so we should be absolutely fine in dealing with them. I don't think we're going to have too many difficulties. Now, apart from the fact that we are attempting to help Rohan, I did make a brief stopover at Henneth Anun to search for the Ranger Companion. I was unaware of this previously. I think I did see a comment on a couple of episodes ago that said that there is a Ranger Companion, but I couldn't find him for whatever reason. I just couldn't find him. So I just spent a little bit of extra time searching around, trying to find him, and eventually I was able to, and he has joined us. And he has already said something, actually. He said that he is a big fan of Luvana, and Luvana is our Elven Ranger kind of companion class character, whatever you want to say, and she's really good. You know, she's basically only second to Glorfindel, and I think that's really quite amazing, because them getting along, that's going to make everything so much easier for us, so that we really don't even have to worry about their morale or anything like that. And you can see here that Rohan is I mean, they are taking quite a few casualties as a result of our engagement here, but we are running them down. We are running down the opponent so incredibly fast that we really don't even need to worry about anything else happening. We can basically just win this through sheer numbers. Now, the main reason why I headed in here at this particular moment in time is the fact that the enemy, the Dunish men, and maybe even Isengard itself, are actually coming to attack us. They were actually coming to assist the Dunish lord that we have here. I think this is Chief Daglaf, is it not? So if it is indeed Chief Daglaf, then, well, that's pretty good, because I believe he is, isn't he the leader? Isn't he the leader of the Dunish men? I'm not entirely sure, but whatever the case, there you go, a victory for us. And we did end up losing no one from our own forces, which is fantastic, and we eliminated 206 of the enemy. And there we go, gambling. We turned up just in time, Beartildien. Very good, yes. We gained 44 rank points. I did actually get into a bit of a brief battle with some of the vassals of Moria, and those vassals basically were allowing me to earn enough rank points to get the next rank up with Imladris, which is indeed Rivendell, and then I was able to speak to Lord Elrond and gain a sword. And unfortunately, Chief Daglaf did escape. Now, what sword, you ask? Well, it's this one. Yes, the Sword of Westerness, and I think it's actually really good, with the exception of the fact that it doesn't have piercing damage when you swing it, but it is a two-handed / one-handed weapon, and if you don't have a shield like I don't, it's going to give you that little bit of extra reach. It actually gives you 20 extra reach over the Greenwood Relic Sword. Now, apart from that, Lord Elrond also had a shield available for me, and I was actually wondering whether I should take that, because that is going to increase my survivability by a pretty significant amount. But then I was thinking, well, then I end up losing another 33 chances to kill enemies, and I didn't really want to do that. Alright, so this battle is actually just me this time around. We're up against Chief Foodrime, and he is very close, as you can see, to Isengard itself. So I'm a bit worried about this, to be honest. I really was quite worried about getting the Isengard vassals and other patrols and war parties and all kinds of things involved in this battle. So I'm hopeful that we are going to be able to escape this relatively unscathed. But to do that, you know what we need to do? We need to make our way to the top of this hill, and we need to try our very best at mowing down every enemy that comes to us as soon as we see them. Ooh, that's not really going to work out too well though, as you can see, because we are already being murdered by their cavalry. Thankfully, they are using horses and not wargs, and horses are infinitely easier for me to eliminate. So I'm very, very thankful about that, because that means they will be much less effective at killing our own units. Because the wargs are themselves quite a nuisance and very, very good at what they do. They're very good at, you know, running interference here and there, and just in general being kind of hard to get rid of on the battlefield. So thankfully horses, not so much. They're pretty easy to take out, and thankfully the Danish units also have a decent amount of unshielded units, which makes things very easy for us as well. Unfortunately, there are 2 vassals in this battle in particular, and as a result it is going to make things quite difficult. So I'm going to use my archery captain ability here, and I'm going to tell everyone to charge in. Let me see if I can eliminate this guy. There we go. Take him down. See if we can... There we go. Okay, that's not a problem. Okay, yeah, no, this is a bit of an issue, because now we're going to start getting overrun, and it is going to be one of those times when I'm going to end up losing a lot of units, which is really not something I badly want, of course. I did actually spend a little bit of time recruiting some Ithilien Rangers as well, because let's face it, I've got to make the most of all of our allies as much as I can. And because the Ithilien Rangers are actually pretty decent, they are quite well statted in comparison to, for example, Gondor archers or something like that. So they are pretty decent to go alongside our elvish units. And I did say that I was not going to use humans, or men in this case, at all. But then I thought to myself, it's war. I basically have to, unless I want to continue running back and forth between Lothlorien and Mirkwood, and indeed Rivendell as well as the front lines of battle, which in this case, for me at the moment, are Rohan Plains. So it's definitely something that we really, really want to keep a handle on. Thankfully, we did end up only losing 8 units, but that is pretty significant, as I've said in the past. Losing this amount, and indeed, I don't even know what kind of unit we've lost. If we take a look here, look at this. We lost a Thranduil Royal Marksman, a couple of veteran archers, 1 Master Archer, Greenwood Archer's not too bad, Guardsman's not too bad, and we did lose 1 Ranger of Ithilien, which is not too bad either. But I suppose I'm pretty happy to trade 8 deaths for 210. Alright, so we have another fight on our hands here, and this time it is against an Umbar vassal who was on the way to reinforce their efforts at Caer Andros, and we're going to try and support that, of course. We want to make sure that people cannot take it, because it seems to be a focal point of the war at the moment, and we really do not want to have that happen. Because if we have that happen, then they're going to just spread out. They might have the opportunity to build an advanced camp. I don't think that is going to be the case, but you never know. You really do want to be cautious about these kinds of things. So let's have a look and see where the enemy is going to be coming from. They're going to be coming from over here. Okay, I think we're in a pretty decent position, because basically what's going to happen now is the enemy is going to come over that ridge just in front of us here, and they are going to get sniped. And the cool thing about it, with the exception of that, is we're not going to waste arrows, and we're not going to waste ammunition by endlessly shooting at extremely long range. So some of the time I personally try, if I can, not to take the high ground if I am up against some units that are not particularly good at ranged as I get shot in the face. That is probably not the best idea, is it? Yes, but anyway, the point is that if you take up this kind of stance and you have an overwhelming ranged focus on your army, you're probably going to be able to outshoot your opponent, because they're going to still be moving over the hillside and they're going to be moving toward you to get into range or to get into line of sight. But your guys are going to be waiting there, and they're going to be standing there. They're going to be ready to pull their bowstrings as soon as they see the opponent. And in which case, you're going to win in that point. You know, you're going to win just literally because you have that small little bit of few seconds, few moments to overwhelm the enemy with massive amounts of arrows flying their way. And there's 123 eliminated. We are going to start taking some Gondor units. A couple of you have suggested that we do something like that and then give these Gondor units to Caer Andros itself, because then we are going to assist in making sure that their garrison is not as bare bones as it may very well be at the moment. Okay, so I've arrived at Caer Andros, and thankfully it is not under siege just yet. It is technically under siege, but I am able to do a couple of things in the menus before they have actually begun. So what we're going to do is we're just going to give these Bowmen of Gondor into the garrison here, and he's going to give me a very small amount of resource points, but I don't really have that much space anyway, so I don't think it's really that big a deal. But otherwise, I'm going to just wait here for some time, and we will then be prepared for the siege when and if it happens. Technically, I could take these guys on the fields of battle, and maybe I should do that. Okay, so we have a bit of a situation on our hands right here, and I'm not gonna give you the news that we are outnumbered by 1,000 to 100 units or anything like that. Don't worry. It's nothing as bad as that. But what is kind of bad is the fact that we are now in a situation where Gothmog has entered the fray. And I think it is Gothmog at the very least. And personally, I really don't want to be fighting him anymore. If I could, I would probably offer him some kind of truce so that I never have to see him again. But I know that that's not actually possible. But anyway, the point is that at the moment, what's happening outside this battle, because this is a very small battle, this is one of the vassals that was besieging Caer Andros, the Gondorian vassals turned up and they decided to attack the Umbarans, who were laying siege to Caer Andros at the time. And they have encountered one lord in that case, and this lord was left outside of the encounter, so I decided to attack him myself. Now, the other lord is in a battle with 2 or 3 Gondorian vassals, and they very well easily could have taken him down. They really easily could have, because they have the numbers, they probably have the unit quality as well. They'd probably be able to do it, no problem at all. However, then Gothmog appeared, and he decided to join in and have some fun. And that is where I'm going to have to spoil his fun. So after this particular battle, we'll have to head in ourselves after I've shot a couple of people in the knees and in the heads. Oh, hello, hello. Yes, this guy is Admiral Tormir himself. Yes, he is quite hardy, as you could no doubt tell. I shot him in the head 3 times and he just shrugged it off. Absolutely amazing. But otherwise, you know what else is amazing? Our archers are extremely effective, and there are only 5 enemies remaining. You can see here, though, that Admiral Tormir really did not have a very large party, and as a result we were able to overwhelm him with numbers as well as with firepower. Thankfully, from that particular fight, I was able to rescue a couple of extra soldiers here. So you can see we actually rescued some people that are pretty good. So we're going to give those over to the garrison here, try and bulk up Caer Andros' garrison as much as we can. Let's see how much we gain from that. Pretty significant amount of resource points. That would actually be really cool earlier on in the game when you don't have as much as I do. But That's a pretty significant number, and I'm pretty happy with that. Otherwise, I've actually just found out that it is not Gothmog who is currently attacking the other lord, so we'll see if we can defeat Skang instead. I have also just realized that the enemy is actually outnumbered by a pretty significant amount. Now that I am in the battle, they are facing a force of allied forces of about 450 in comparison to what it was before, which I can only assume is, well, 130 less than that, which is what I have, or 115 less than that. So basically they'd be facing a force of 350 or something along there, along those lines. And the thing is that they only have 200. So in the grand scheme of things, I think they probably would have lost this battle anyway, and especially considering this. Look at this line. Look at this line that we have here. And all of these Rivendell elite sentinels, these Lothlorien master archers, even the Pelagia marines, as well as the Greenwood guardsmen, they have every single advantage in this particular encounter, and I have no doubt that we will be victorious here. And I think that's the thing. I think Skang is not as dangerous as Gothmog, because Gothmog, in my opinion, is going to always be pretty difficult to deal with, no matter what, really. Is that the captain? Yep, that's the captain. As you can see, he's actually rallying his troops right now. So if I could maybe shoot him a little bit more, there we go, and take him down, then that would be great. Let's try and take out this Felorc who's creeping up on me a little bit there. Not exactly what I would like to see. And otherwise, we'll just continue to shoot at the opponent and take them down relatively well. Ooh, there we go. A little bit of damage taken. That's not too bad, not too bad. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to heal our forces just a little bit, just to make sure that they're all good. You know, they're just topped up every now and again. And then we're just going to tell our forces to charge in, because I personally don't think we will have too many difficulties with defeating them, as we do have quite a few infantry with us as well. And there is an Olagai over there, so I will do my best to try and assassinate it as quickly as possible, because we really do not want that guy to get into our infantry lines. That is going to be devastating. New reinforcements for the enemy are coming in, but I really don't think we need to be too concerned, even though we did just lose a Greenwood veteran archer, but that's neither here nor there, really. Although the wargs are now coming in and being rather irritating. That is always going to be the case with the orcs. Ah, there we go. We did eliminate the Great Warg Rider at least, so that is nice. And otherwise, look at that. We actually have a pretty significant number of allies on the field. 124 in actuality. If I had 124 of my own units, which I don't think I even have, I think I've got just above 110 or something, we would probably have won this battle much, much easier, but who am I to say? Who am I to say? Anyway, that is indeed a victory for us, and we have once again driven off the enemy from Caer Andros. I'm just wondering right now, when is anyone going to take the offensive against the forces of evil? Because it seems to me the only people that are taking any kind of offensive effort is, well, basically King Thranduil. He's the only one that is actually doing anything to eliminate enemy strongholds. Alright, so once again we have a couple of forces here that we can put into the garrison, and I think we're going to get quite a few resource points for these guys, because they are Lamadon units as far as I'm aware. I don't have enough money to upgrade this Gondor Watchman. Are you serious right now? I think I do, as you can quite clearly see down here. Gondor, I have 24,000 resource points. Okay, I guess I'll just give them over then. Maybe they'll upgrade them or something like that. Ah, it seems to be a bit of a bug. Anyway, let's see how much we're going to get. Only 558, not a real big deal. Ah, now here we have a little bit of a dramatic situation as well. We have King Theoden. I decided to head back to Rohan territory after securing Caer Andros once more, as, well, as you can clearly see, they are having some more difficulties against Isengard. King Theoden has, well, we have 328 troops fit for battle against the enemy's 322. And, well, as we know, Uruks can be very powerful indeed. They can be quite menacing. So let's hope that we are going to be able to defend against them. And once again, we seem to have an overwhelming number of allied units on the field of battle. We have 126 and the enemy has 184. I'm actually really surprised at the last days having such amazing performance, because I still have... I'm not running at 60 FPS, but I am running at a pretty high frame rate. Yes, frame weight. Yes, frame weight. Anyway, frame rate as much as I can really handle, and it doesn't seem as though it is a lot less. And we have such an amazing amount of units on the field of battle already. So that is a testament to the mod creators being very good at optimization, because the worst thing about mods in general is that it can cause some instability in your system, and if you can't run it well and you're having, you know, very, very choppy gameplay, then it can ruin the experience in general, and that's going to be a great shame, especially in the case of The Last Days, because The Last Days is just a fantastic mod. I very much enjoy it. I like the resource points, the influence points, the ability to gain unique items, and just in general, they have done a great job. I've already mentioned this multiple times in the past, but I thought I'd just reiterate upon it, just literally because of the performance. But otherwise, let's do some damage. Let's see if we can take out these banner carriers. Maybe the banner carriers will cause the enemy to lose a bit of morale. Don't think that's going to happen maybe, but we'll see. Wow, yeah, there's a lot of enemies coming in here. Maybe we can take out the polearm users as well a little bit more. Okay, so I'm going to tell my infantry and my cavalry to charge in. I'm just going to leave the archers where they are, because let's face it, I would much rather have Rohan lose a lot of units rather than me, because it's going to take me a long time to level up those units once again, and it will probably not take King Theoden that long to get back in the fight, unless he's killed outright, which I don't think he will be. So we'll see. But as it stands right now, I think he's going to be fine. I'm just trying to kill these wargs as well, because they are going to start attacking us, and they can indeed interrupt our archers, which is something we definitely do not want. Alright, well, it seems like we were successful in the first wave of enemy units being defeated so incredibly quickly. I very much appreciate that. Very good work, friends. Let's do a little bit of healing for our archers as well, and then we will get our infantry and cavalry to hold position once more as our archers reposition. I don't know how many more we have here, because don't we have each about 300? So it is going to be another 100 or so for us to eliminate, and then we will be fine. But maybe I should continue letting our cavalry just do damage. Yeah, I'm going to just continue letting our cavalry just run in here, because they are going to otherwise be sitting ducks for the enemy's archers, and we really don't want that to be a thing, because even though the skirmishers do come with shields, you know, they are equipped with shields, it is probably a good idea to get them moving as much as possible to increase the amount of evasion that they're going to have for incoming projectiles. So far, I think we're doing alright, and I don't think I've seen King Theoden even get eliminated just yet, so I'm very happy about that, because if he does go down, then it makes everything much more difficult, because he is unable to rally his troops and so on and so forth, even though I don't think he even really needs to at this point, because we are just doing such a good job of murdering the opponent in every single way, basically. And yeah, it kind of reminds me of the time that I was playing with Bear Uruk, and well, let's just say that Bear Uruk was having a really hard time against elves, and kind of had to avoid them for the most part, unless I had, you know, a massive amount of units on my side in the form of maybe some allies or something, because they were, well, they are very, very powerful indeed, very difficult to deal with, those elves. And even Rohan was a bit difficult, because Orcs are usually not going to be that good at catching up in terms of running after horse archers and things like that, so unless you have those cavalry charging into your line as Isengard, and you have a bunch of pikemen, which I didn't at the time, then you're going to have some difficulties, perhaps, maybe a little bit. Anyway, in the future, I might very well be creating another series with The Last Days. Don't know how soon that will happen, but I think it could be pretty cool. I think it could be pretty cool because, as I say, I feel like The Last Days has a really nice pacing to it because it feels to me like you're part of the world, but you're not necessarily controlling it from, you know, up on high, for example. You're not like a god looking down upon Middle-earth and being like, oh yes, I think I should take that fief next. You know, that kind of thing. And instead of that, you are a small piece of a much larger war. And I think that that is a really cool place to be in comparison to, for example, native warband, where in the end you become a wrecking ball of devastation and you are able to basically besiege anything you want and probably end up winning in, well, a couple of sieges if you have campaign AI on high. But anyway, there you go. King Theoden is now liking us just that little bit more. Then we gain some rank points. Mog has escaped. Ugluk has escaped as well, and we get a whole bunch of metal scraps. No sooner had I exited the battle and leveled up my units, am I now in another battle trying to save King Theoden. And he is up against some Danish men. Now this is going to be more difficult than dealing with the Orcs, because the Danish men tend to have a lot of pikemen, and, well, even though the Orcs do tend to have pikemen as well, the men are a little bit, in my opinion at least, a little bit better at using it. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to do the strategy that I talked about earlier in the episode, where you stay very much further down than you would expect to do in terms of having archers. And what we're going to do is we're going to try and draw the enemy in. So I'm going to take my infantry, put them there, take my cavalry, put them there, and then we will move my archers back here and get them to stand a little bit closer to each other so they can cover themselves if they need to. But otherwise, what we're going to try to do is get our archers into a kill zone. So if there are enemies that come closer to us, then those archers will begin firing upon them, and maybe, just maybe, they will end up getting a couple of extra kills as a result. So I'm hopeful that we'll be able to do something like that. And if the Danish want to come over this ridge, then they are very much welcome to, because I think that that is going to result in their demise relatively quickly. Unfortunately, I am taking quite a bit of damage, and it's certainly not insignificant in any way, so definitely something to watch out for there. But thankfully, I am going to be able to shoot quite a few of these guys down before they even reach me, so this is also a pretty cool way to do things because they can't see me, and it's kind of hard for them to get assistance even though I did get shot. And as you can see, all of the arrows streaming in here, even though these guys... Ooh, I actually got taken out. Okay, well, that is unfortunate. That is actually really unfortunate. I guess, you know what? I'm going to just retreat for a second. We're just going to retreat and see what happens here. Okay, so that is still absolutely doable. No problem at all here. 188 versus 276. I think we should be okay. Now, the only reason why we ended up even having to retreat there is because I got eliminated. I was just being too confident in general, and that is never a good sign for me. So what we're going to do again is the same kind of thing. Get our infantry out there, cavalry a little bit behind them, and then archers behind them. And we have 117 archers on the battlefield at the moment. I don't know whether the Rohan skirmishers count as archers. I'm pretty sure they probably do. So that might be a reason why we are seeing a much larger amount of archers on the field. Or oh, actually, wait a minute. That is just my forces, isn't it? Ah, never mind. I was getting mixed up between these numbers here. I thought 121 were our allies, but that's actually not true. Okay, well, that's actually fine then. Because as you can see on the map here, we have some really nice lines going on. And, well, those guys going up on the hill over there, they are making a grievous error. If they do that, they're just going to get picked off by my archers so incredibly easily that they really won't have any way of getting to them. And if I want to, I could very easily just retreat once again, and I could refresh my arrows if I wanted to. But I personally don't think we are going to need to do that. I think we are going to be absolutely fine without it. I'm just going to heal my units up a little bit, just in case some of them were a little bit injured, and then we're going to go to town and try and shoot a couple of these enemies along the way here. Now, yeah, these main guys right here, these thrown weapon specialists, they are the main reason why I actually got murdered before, so I'm going to try and be a little bit more careful about them and be a little bit more cautious in engaging the opponent, because I was being quite audacious before, trying to basically just show my units that it is indeed possible to beat overwhelming numbers in this case, because we haven't really fought the Dunnish as much as we potentially could have. And the wolf guards in general, as we know, they are quite powerful. So it's a bit scary, you know, it's a bit scary to deal with something that you've never dealt with before, especially when it comes to an enemy like this. So you never know, because I know for sure that the wolf guards are very, very powerful indeed. And if you let them get to you, as you saw before, they're going to deal massive damage. And that's exactly what happened. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to let everyone let rip, and hopefully we will be able to eliminate the last remaining units, because there's only about 50 of them. Isn't there about 50 of them remaining? I think there's probably not that many remaining, so it should be a pretty easy victory for us. But otherwise, I think we're starting to turn the war around a little bit. Now, here's the thing, the other stuff that I've been doing off screen is basically just, again, like I've said in the previous episode, it's basically cleaning up. You know, it's basically cleaning up. It's like, I don't know, it's like, you know those crime scene cleaners, you know, that criminals hire to get the crime scene cleaned up? We're basically doing that kind of job, where we're going in, we're doing the dirty work of some particular faction, you know, it doesn't matter what it is, it doesn't matter which faction it is, that is, and then we're getting out of there and we're moving on to the next area and we're attempting to help the next faction. And so we're just moving from zone to zone to zone and trying to get everyone in a situation where they can actually start fighting back themselves. Because if you don't do that, especially in the last days, as I've said, time does not wait for you. These vassals, these lords, these enemies, these allies, they do not wait. They will go, they will do whatever they want without you interfering. And that kind of actually makes me believe that the good side, or the quote-unquote good side, you know, Gondor, Rohan, and so on and so forth, is meant to lose. I feel as though if you were to leave them to fight it out over however long it would actually take, I feel like they would probably lose in the end. Has anyone done that? Let me know in the comments. Has anyone actually done the testing on that? Because I think that could be really interesting to see what actually transpires. And that's definitely something that maybe I should check out for myself as well. Because as we've seen so far, we have needed to help Gondor significantly. We've needed to help Rohan significantly. So I can assume that Gondor and Rohan would both get eliminated quite quickly. But I did see in the comments that someone stated that Mordor is having a pretty hard time in their game. So I can only assume that maybe it is just a personality thing, and maybe Gothmog in my game is some kind of amazing overlord of power, and he is just murdering everything in his way, and that could very well be the case. Anyway, there you go. We've helped King Theoden once again, and we are now promoted to Great Hope of Rohan, and I will be able to speak to him and maybe gain a unique weapon or unique item of some kind, which would be quite nice, I think. Alright, so I'm actually going to be speaking to him now, and as you can see, we have a wide variety of different things. I can take the saddle, I can take the royal armor, I'm going to take all of this actually. I don't even know whether I have that much space. I guess we'll just have a look at those two. Yeah, I have 2 more spaces, so technically I could, but otherwise, as you see here, this saddle gives you +1 to riding skill during battles. So that is very, very decent if you're going to be playing a cavalry unit, which I am of course not, unfortunately. But otherwise we have Rohan Royal Armor here, which is actually pretty decent. I think that's actually pretty decent, and that's another thing I like about the last days. Every single piece of armor that you're going to get is relatively balanced, so there's not one piece of armor that is going to be amazingly overpowered in some way or another. The weapons are quite powerful, but that is to be expected for Lord of the Rings and magical beings and, you know, things like that. Anyway, I hope you have enjoyed this episode. Let me know about any thoughts that you may have on how the war is currently going in this series, and otherwise I thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.